I'm Michael Dervan. I'm here in the splendour of Westport House to talk from afar with musicians from this year's Westport Chamber Music Festival. The festival has had to relocate online because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, I'm only virtually here in Westport. In reality, I'm at home in Dublin, sitting in front of my computer to talk to the violinist Jolente and Maeyer and the pianist Nikolaas Kende. They are 988 kilometers away from me in Antwerp, Belgium. That's 1,245 kilometers distant from Westport. Hi, Jolente and Nikolaas. Everything changed for all of us after the spread of COVID-19. How have you both been?
Well, we've had also a lot of cancellations, a lot of things that have been postponed to the next season. So that's been, I think, the same for everybody. It's been a challenge and it's still going to remain a challenge, but we're trying to make the best of it, trying to learn new repertoire, do new things that maybe we wouldn't have done because we would have been very busy with all the programmed concerts, and for the rest we're trying to make it cozy in our home with our children and trying to find other ways to, keep the spirits up.
And have you been at home all the time now?
Most of it, yeah. We had quite a long period of quarantine that we had to stay inside, and we had a few months in the summer when it looked a bit more positive and concert life was starting up again. But since a few weeks here in Belgium, everything has gone bad again, and cancellations are starting to come again. So it doesn't look so good at this moment.
So, and did you do any unusual non-musical things, baking, reading, picking out on YouTube videos, TV series, or long walks, any of that kind of thing?
I think we wish we would have done some kind of binging on Netflix or whatever, but we couldn't because we were home with a 4-month-old baby and a 3-year-old toddler, so we were very busy. But I did do a lot of baking and cooking, and so we've all been enjoying doing that, and especially the eating, of course.
Yeah, the culinary part of this corona crisis wasn't so bad, to be honest.
I remember my shock at going, there was a flour shortage for a while here. And then sometime later, I remember going into Lidl or Aldi and seeing these ginormous bags of flour, which I'd never seen in an Irish supermarket before. You would have seen it in catering supplies, but not in a supermarket.
Yeah, I think everybody had the same idea of trying to bake and trying to make their own breads and all that kind of stuff.
I had my own ventures in that regard too. And what was most difficult during this period?
I think for us personally, it was the combination of just having a very small baby, a toddler, being at home, still getting used to a new family situation because the baby had only been here for a few months when the first lockdown started. And we also moved to a new house just 2-3 months before that. So there were a lot of changes, and then to be really in the same house the whole time, especially I think for my daughter, she's now 4 years old. It was quite a challenge because she loves going to school and she really missed the social contact of, being able to play with other children. I think that was the hardest, well, for her, and then also as a result for us because she was finding it quite difficult. And for the rest, I think we just really missed having this kind of outlet of being able to play and to create things and to actually channel your energy into this. And I think it's maybe for everybody, but I can only talk for myself, it's really difficult to be used to a certain kind of lifestyle and then all of a sudden it stops, and you kind of don't know what to do with all this energy that normally you spend creatively. So it was a real kind of relief to start playing, and when people could actually look after one of our kids for a few hours to actually do something. And we also had to do this live concert on a live streaming in the US. And we did it with Oscar, our little son. He was just sitting in a chair just out of the screen. And then my daughter was watching a movie downstairs. So we tried to keep things going, but it was a challenge, yeah.
You could have been an internet sensation if one of them came, you know, on camera and did something amusing.
Yeah, we actually, I mean, we filmed him at the end. I mean, we cut it off for the real live stream, but for us, we kept it in because he was just sitting just outside of the image. So just for the future, it was funny to keep it in.
Yeah, and
sorry?
The concerts, of course, they stopped, but we both teach at the conservatory where we have 2 full classes. And of course, we had to keep on teaching online, which was also not very easy with many students, as they were very isolated, and to keep them motivated as well, and find the time for all the students that they wouldn't feel left alone. This was also quite asking a lot of time to do this and be with them.
Yeah. The online teaching seems to be very difficult because there are so many things that you can't hear quite properly, and there is, even now, there's, you know, the reaction time is different, so you don't get the immediate response to expression or maybe the detail of what somebody is doing, if it's, say, a violin or is that your experience? Yeah,
absolutely. And now teaching live again, I mean, I'm still teaching live for now, for the moment, even with face masks. I mean, this is a challenge in itself as well, because one poor girl, she was playing and the face mask was just going up and up and up, and it was up until there. She couldn't see anything anymore. But even if it's with a mask, I mean, it's so much more enjoyable for everyone to do it live, and the results come much quicker. I mean, on a video, we didn't teach live as such online via Zoom. It was more, we asked our students to send videos, then we would listen to the videos. It's better quality then. And then kind of, I would have a Skype moment with them every week and talk about what things to improve and then show some things live. But I mean, the audio quality is quite bad online, and it's really difficult to have dynamics and stuff showing. So
for certain aspects, it was useful also for the student to see themselves play, and when we would speak about how physically what would happen, or tension or relaxation, and this was with some students very useful, and they actually continue, even though now lessons are still in real time, in real life. They keep on sending videos and continue this process. But many of the students, they were stuck in a very small apartment with an electric piano, and then they had to send videos. You know, it was in many cases very, very difficult for students.
I spent 10 years of my life teaching piano, and one of the most unusual experiences was I had this very bright new student, and the lessons were wonderful, but he never seemed to progress from week to week. But everything you told him at the lesson, he picked up straight away. And eventually I discovered that his parents weren't sure if he would be interested in music. So what happened was he practiced on the kitchen table. And once a week, he went into a neighbor's house where he had a real piano. So suddenly I understood where all the teaching was going. It was kind of going into a vacuum. But video seems so much better than the live for making musical assessments. Yeah. How has normal life been in Belgium?
It's been okay. I mean, since June, things have been relatively normal. You could go to cafes, restaurants. I mean, in limited numbers and with reservations and distance and all that stuff. But it has been kind of normal. But since a week ago, all the restaurants, cafes, they're all closed. And tomorrow there's going to be another announcement about the cultural life. So it's about us and sports. And I think they're also going to shut everything down for a while again, because it's the numbers are getting very bad here in Belgium. So.
And what was the maximum allowable at a live concert of classical music?
I think 200,
200
inside.
200.
They actually made the number bigger for very big halls because they could ensure social distancing for more people. But I think now it's going to go to complete zero, I think.
Yeah.
And have you performed in front of a socially distanced audience of 200? So is that odd to see all these people
it is
separated?
Yeah. It feels very different. You feel less contact with the audience also when you stand up and bow, and you don't see also the expression. I mean, I
mean, it's double, because you do feel that everybody is there because they really want to be there, and they are kind of needing to have an experience like this again. And so the first time the door opened and to go on stage and you see everybody with a mask, it was a little bit like, I don't know, emotional to be back on a stage. But then it's a really nice experience, because you feel the people who are there, they are really kind of needing this as well. So that's kind of lovely, but the experience in itself is a little bit strange, of course. I mean, we're getting used to all of this, but if we think back, I think a year ago nobody could have imagined anything like this.
No, it's so extraordinary and so quick and so complete for such a long period of time.
Yeah.
Do you think the whole experience has changed you in any way? In other words, if things were to go completely back to normal next March, would you just pick up where you left off, or would you be approaching things about music making and programming and your career in general in a different way?
Well, it's a difficult question. I think in a way it will have changed something in us, in also in the whole experience, and on every aspect. And I think when I think about just daily life and choices to make about everything, I think it should have changed.
But I think we were talking about the diary that we were supposed to have. Mm-hmm. We were at a certain point also saying, like, look, we have this small baby and a toddler, and we were going to go 3 times to the US and Ireland, and we were supposed to be on a cruise now with the National Classical Radio of Belgium, and it would have been extremely hectic and busy like we were used to, but then with a baby in the mix. And at a certain point we were like, wow, that was really like a very charged diary that we had, full on, which, I mean, in any case, it's practically everything is postponed to next year, so we will do this. But somehow at some points we said, like, okay, yeah, this slower pace of life, maybe there are some benefits to this as well. And now we had the time to really enjoy being with our children. And even though there were some hard moments too, I'm not gonna lie, but, we really did, try and make the most of this. But so it's very double. I mean, we missed it so much to be on the road, playing concerts, being busy and all of that. And at the same time, we tried to appreciate as much as we could to just take everything in a slower tempo and enjoy the forced situation that we were in. So
the wonderful background behind you is from one of your CD covers, and you have a second one that I've seen, which is equally intriguing. Could you tell me something about those choices, why you chose those particular images for covers, and why you chose such strange buildings in the first place?
Mm. Well, with our first CD, we recorded a Kreutzer Sonata and pieces by Pecht and Shostakovich, and we thought with this kind of very dramatic and yet fantastic music, we wanted also a location which would be in a way close to this musical idea, and by accidents we started to talk to a Belgian photographer called Henk van Rensbergen, who was the first one to do the urbex photography, where he would go to abandoned places and make photos of them, like 20 years ago. And then he made some books about those buildings which are ruins now. And we liked so much those locations that we asked him if he wanted to do this. And
also because in the Kreutzer Sonata and the story around it and all of that, there were some very kind of destructive characteristics in that. And we thought that something that had been abandoned, kind of destroyed and left alone for so long kind of suited the story that's behind the Kreutzer Sonata, the Tolstoy novel, all of that kind of suited also Pecht, the music, kind of solitary music, all that kind of those characteristics suited with the photography.
Yeah. So you've not actually been in this location. You were photoshopped in then.
No, we went. So for the first CD, he came up with the idea. It's a building in the south of Belgium near Charleroi, and it's an abandoned energy power plant, something, and which is you can just walk in and it's ruined. And this time with the new CD, we were thinking, because the CD is about the role of the past in today and in the future, and how composers use the past of their country or all the inspiration to create new elements. And so we went back to him and we asked, like, do you know any location which might be nice for this? And then he came up with a few places, including this Italian palazzo, and also, yeah, the first piece is the Italian suite by Stravinsky with the old elements, and at the same time there's this destructive element, the accents and the dissonances. So we thought, again, it fitted well the music.
And if you have another CD, or are you working on another CD, what will be on the cover of that?
We don't know. for the moment, not working on another recording yet.
But it's incredible how many of those places there are. Actually, the photographer Henk, he's actually a pilot, so he would wherever he would go, he would just go around till he would find such a place, and he still knows like millions of those places. So plenty of inspiration to choose from. You know.
And for each of you, what's been the highlight and also the low light of the pandemic for you?
That's a hard question.
Well, I would say musically, our first concert was such emotional to share again the music, because we were continuing to make music, but it's so different being on your own in your room or with the two of us, and then finally feeling the people around and sharing it. So this was very, very special, that we were very grateful to be able to do this, and also just when we finally could leave our house and go out, and we just took our car and we drove to north of Spain with our two children, and it felt like such a joy to go out of freedom and yeah. So and the low point, well, it's we had a few of those moments, of course, being stuck here at home, and we couldn't ask anybody to just for even an hour watch our toddler or baby, and on certain moments it was a bit too much.
I think the low lights of the pandemic until now was that we were so low on energy, not sleeping at night because of the baby, and then having a toddler with high demands during the day. I think that was just very difficult because there was literally not 1 minute really for us personally. And that's on a personal level, of course. And besides that, of course, seeing so many projects that you worked on for a long time, that you worked towards a certain point, to see each one get canceled, that's, you know, inevitably, especially now, because we were able to get a taste of the previous life. And then now they just announced now that next week something really big is cancelled again. And I think it's just kind of the preview of what's coming. I mean, that's difficult because you kind of feel like things were kind of getting back to normal, and now we're going back to how it was in March. But to end on the highlight, I think we had to be just creative and try to make beautiful moments for ourselves, you know, just making a picnic in the garden, just very simple, small things, but then to see the joy that our daughter had with this, and, you know, just those small things, I think were just important to keep going.
And just 2 more questions before you go. Your greatest fear for the future, and then your greatest hope for the future.
Well, greatest fear, I would say, like, because you previously asked, like, if we would expect everything to be back normal, and I shared the point of view of many people that I read or speak with, that it's their greatest fear that it would pass and happen and nothing would change, like everything would be back like before. I think there should be a kind of conscious and choices to be made about ecology and many aspects that to avoid or to because the whole crisis is not just one thing that happened and won't happen again. It's a result about how we live and how our life has taken place. And some things have to change, and probably, yeah, the greatest fear is that this won't happen, and people just want to be everything as before.
Which is a normal reaction. I mean, you kind of want this, but I see what you mean. Like, how did we come to this point? And if we could prevent it, then yes.
And hope?
Biggest hope? Well, it kind of goes with the same thing, yeah, that we just hope that if and when this pandemic passes, that there were some lessons learned from, a lot of lessons learned from this, and it was not for nothing, and that in a sense we can get back to normal, but with better values, or in a more like for the climate and all of those things, in a better to move forward with a more conscious way of life.
And I should end on a musical note. You said you explored new repertoire. So what was that repertoire? What were the discoveries?
Well, we've been there are only because we've been playing for a very long time together, and for instance with Beethoven, there are only a few sonatas that we didn't play, so now we started, so we know all of them, and then we discovered some beautiful pieces which are not so often played, like the Martinu Sonata and bunch of other pieces that we found the time to now play and look at. And
we just kind of made our wish list of what we want to do now, and really the next kind of big work to get into in great depth, like we did with the Kreutzer and the Schubert, is like Strauss Sonata, Martinu Sonata, Szymanowski, the Myths, just repertoire that we haven't played recently or just haven't played yet, that we really would love to get into and hopefully perform.
And did you discover anything you didn't know at all before?
Well, the Martinu was something new for me. I never heard before. And what else?
Nothing groundbreaking, I think.
Yeah, some Belgian music as well that we occasionally they ask us here in Belgium or abroad, like
There's
also,
a big sonata by Le Queux, isn't there?
for instance, yeah, and there are a few. I mean, there is a lot of Belgian music, as of course, and which we don't know as it's not so often played, and we, when they ask, we always go back to the same pieces that we really like to play, Belgian pieces. And now we thought also, like, let's discover some new stuff, and there is quite a lot of really beautiful Belgian music. So this was new as well.
And will you be coming to Westport next year?
Definitely.
Yes,
we will.
We're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you there then. So it's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.